I know we've only known each other for 4 weeks and 3 days, but to me, it seems like 9 weeks and 5 days.
All right. Welcome, all my favorite garden enthusiasts and passionate plant people to the Let's Get Growing show here on the Urban Gardener channel. My name's Enoch. I'm your host today, and we've got a really special Sunday roundtable for you all today. We've got joining with us here in just a few minutes. We're going to get started as soon as we can here. We've got Mark Valencia from Self-Sufficient Me and Nate Muri from Garden Like a Viking joining with us here in just a few minutes for our Sunday roundtable, a special Sunday roundtable. Again, to just kind of working on what I thought would be such a great idea. We get to feature so many great guests here on the Let's Get Growing show each and every weekend. And I thought, again, as we got to find a way to bring back some of these really awesome guests that we get to talk with, and a Sunday roundtable discussion about gardening and all of that. It was a great idea to kind of pair up and bring people back and all of that. And we're just so fortunate to have Mark and Nate joining back up with us today. So again, here, look forward to that here in just a few minutes. But I do want to make sure I thank everybody for coming and joining with us this last Thursday for our special Halloween Hangout live stream, where we featured the original 1960 classic Little Shop of Horrors. This is basically our 5th annual Little Shop of Horrors viewing for Halloween that we've done here on my channel. So we've just continued the fun here again this last week. It was really fun. We had a fun discussion. We had a couple of viewers jump in on the conversation and join with us there, as well as we watched a theatrical version of that movie, the original movie, so you can kind of see what the big differences of all of that is. It's just a fun hangout, and thank you to everybody who joined with us. If you want to check it out, if you haven't seen one of those movies or even a theatrical version of the Little Shop of Horrors, go back and check that out. It was really fun. You might really enjoy it. Also, if you did get a chance to check out last Saturday's show too, we had on our friend Mike Van Doozy from Keep On Growing Home and Garden. It was a really fun conversation with him, talking about all the different things that he's got growing. Plus, we did a little bit of a giveaway of some of his adapters that he created for his kind of like do-it-yourself microgreens home kit that you can make to grow your own microgreens. So again, really fun conversation there with him. And we also got to meet Mariana Lira from Mary's Garden and Kitchen. She's got a really great channel. I found her channel looking into, I'm always kind of looking for different gardeners out there who are growing in the city. You know what I mean? Growing in the urban environment and all of that. That's kind of for me. I'm just right outside of my downtown, growing on the alleyways and all of that. Mariana was growing in right in the city in New York City. So she was really doing some real urban gardening, and we talked all about that. Plus, she actually just recently got to move and get into a new space. So that was really kind of fun discussion, talking about her transition from growing in the city to growing in her new space now as well. And also, this last Sunday was my birthday, so I invited my good friends, the original pair roundtable that I had here on my channel before we even did the show. My good friends Kangstar from the Kangstar channel, and Christopher Bransdahl from Christopher Bransdahl channel. And Kangstar, he grows out of Texas, and Christopher grows out of Norway. So these guys have been some good friends and have joined me for live streams for years now, and it's always great to get together with them. So we had a fun discussion with those guys. You might want to go back and check that out as well too. So right on. Really great to see everybody here today. Like I said, we've got a really great show, so you want to hold on here in just a few minutes. We're going to be talking with our featured guests here in just a minute. I want to say hi to everybody here if I can. We've got Vanessa Weeks joining with us from Townsville, North Queensland, Australia. I'm looking forward to watching these two awesome gardeners on your channel. So right on. Thank you, Venice, for joining with us here. And looks like we got joining us from Florida. David over at Bowtie Life in the Garden. Great to see you. Thank you so much for joining with us. And he says, it's so great to be home and know the time change again, not another time change again for several months. Exactly. Boy, this one's really fun to as well, because again, we've got Mark here from Australia with us. We've got our time change here for our fall that falls back. For Mark, he's got a time change that happened here recently where they go forward. And boy, it just kind of, really kind of changed the way I had scheduling and originally was thinking about this show a while back ago when we were originally working on this plan to do this discussion. Let's see here. Oh, and we got another regular viewer here, Rick Thielen, joining us from the future again in Australia as well. Thank you so much, Rick, for getting up early and joining with us here. Looks like we got Tony from Simplified Gardening jumping in. Awesome. Good to see you, Tony. Thanks for being here. Awesome to see you. Right on, right on. We got work from home, dog mom. Awesome. Excellent. Thank you for joining with us here. Thanks for being in the conversation. Let's see here. Wait a minute. And of course, we got to right here. We got to make sure we thank our friend and facilitator to the show in our chat here, Jay Dixon, joining us from Midwestern Huron County, Ontario, Canada. Awesome to have you here, Jay, and keep an eye in the discussion as well, too. Jay will drop in links and different things as we get moving on here as well, too, for all of that. And yeah, excellent. It's good to see everybody here. Adam Burley joining me from right down the road here in Southern Oregon. Thank you, Adam, for being here today. We got Pam joining with us here. Awesome. It's great to see you all. Thank you so much for joining with us here. And let's see, we'll get through just a moment here. I just wanted to make sure that if you are joining with us here on the show right now, definitely click that thumbs up, hit the like button. Also subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Definitely subscribe, and if you want, hit the bell notification to be notified of our upcoming videos and live streams. Plus share with all of your friends, share with all your garden friends. And again, to also a big huge shout out to all of those of you who are watching us on our replay. I know a lot of you don't have the opportunity to join with us live here while we're live, but so many of you do watch us on the replay. So thank you so much for taking your time here to join with us here for our Sunday edition on Let's Get Growing and this great roundtable today. And if you can, jump into the comment section down below. Let me know you're here. And, even if you just have just want to drop by real quick and say hi, or if you got any questions or any suggestions for other guests that we could possibly have on the show too. I'd love to hear that from all of you as well too. And if you are here with us today and you do have a question or comment, go ahead and drop that into our comment section there in the chat as well too. If you have any questions, make sure that you put them in all caps. That way I can see the questions from the regular conversation that might be happening as well too, and I'll be able to pick those out. And yeah, we just might feature it on the show, especially if you got any questions of our guests. We'll try to get those in there in our conversation if we can. Awesome. Again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining with us. Also, check out the links down in the description for our guests here as well too. I love it if you guys go and click on their channels. If you haven't subscribed to their channels as well, definitely go show them some love. And as well too, if you can, go onto one of their most recent videos and leave them a comment and let them know that you saw them here on the Let's Get Growing show. That would be really awesome too. And again, thank you all for doing so. Thank you so much again, everybody. Let's see here one more time. I want to make sure we're getting to see Dusty Flats joining with us here. Excellent. Hello, everyone. It's a rainy day. Let's see here. We see Sam in the show here. Awesome. Sam, thanks for joining back up with us. Big Will Dog. Awesome. Great to have you all here for this really great conversation. We want to get to it here real quick here. Let's see here. Make sure. LP, there's happy birthday. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, it was my birthday this last week. It was great. What a great day to spend that with some good friends and everything as well. Oh, and excellent. Thank you so much. Right on. Yeah, there we go. Just one more year around the sun. Mill Creek Market, PA. Thank you so much for joining with us as well. Really awesome to have you all here joining in on the conversation. And again, like I said, we got to get moving on here. We got to get to our great guests that we have today. So we'll be right back here in just one moment, and we'll meet up with all of our some of our favorite channels right here. Hey gardeners, thanks for tuning in to our show today. We'll be right back at it here in just a moment. I just wanted to take a second here to highlight our regular videos and features here on the Urban Gardener channel. Our weekly garden journals, and our incredible featured visits. All right. Oh, let's see here. Not quite yet. We got one more thing to do real quick. But we'll be right with our guests here in just a moment. We got our gardening roundtable, special gardening discussions that we have here on our Sunday edition of the Let's Get Growing show. Remember, we're here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern, for all of you here in the States. And yeah, all right, let's go ahead and get to it. We got our Sunday roundtable. So, all right, here we go. Joining us here again on the show, we got from our good friend, Mark Valencia from the Self-Sufficient Me channel in Australia. And we got our good friend, Nate Muri from Garden Like a Viking joining with us here on the show. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here on the show with me on this Sunday. Or I guess Monday for you, Mark.
Good to be here.
G'day, Nate. Yeah, it is Monday. We're coming from the future here. So if you wanna ask me what horses won or whatever, just let me know.
Exactly, right? Excellent. Again, thank you guys so much for joining with me here for our Sunday roundtable. And again, this is just kind of a fun discussion that I thought would be fun to have return guests join with me, and we can just kind of talk about, kind of whatever's growing on for us. And one of the things, which is really interesting about what we've got going on here with this discussion is such a, seasonal contrast. I mean, we're again, like you said, you're Mark, you're over there in the future, basically, and not just the future, but you're also completely upside down when it comes to seasons. Again, we're having fun with this time change for us here in the States, but again, we go fall back in our time, and then you guys move forward because it's springtime. So it's just kind of an interesting contrast about how living in two different parts of the world are, and again, too, I thought that's kind of where we would start our discussion from. And I just kind of throw it to you, Mark. Tell us just a little bit about it. We here in the States, again, are in the fall season. We're ending our growing season and everything, so we're well into fall right now. And you guys now are well into spring, heading towards your summer season. So, and I know you got it also kind of a different than average climate as well too. So maybe you can kind of talk about that a little bit as well too, and let us know kind of about what's happening there in your gardens at this time of year.
Yeah, so Australia's similar to the States, where you've got down south, you've got more of a subtropical warmer climate. Up north, you've got that colder climate. It's the opposite in Australia. You've got north is the further north you go, the hotter it gets, and it gets into a more tropical zone. Then you come down to the subtropics where we are, just north of Brisbane. And then the further south you go, the colder it gets. So it's still a little chilly in Melbourne and Tasmania, even though we're mid-spring. But here, you're starting to really feel that summer heat come on. And things are, if you're not keeping the water up, all those winter and spring crops that we grew, they're all starting to fizzle out pretty quickly. So you've got to keep the water up to keep those legacy crops going. And at the same time, we then have to do this changeover of crop growing where we grow some of the warm climate crops like eggplant, corn. So we don't stop growing here in our area. It just, the crops just change. There's, some herbs and that just keep growing all through the year, but most things have this crossover. And so it's pretty interesting. But it's even more interesting if you're a gardening YouTuber, because you've got people all around the world tuning into my stuff, and then you're also reading all their comments and getting tips from them. I often get I follow you, Mark, because you've got a similar climate to me, or you're in a similar area. And I whenever I see those types of comments, I try to reply with, don't discount those other climates and those other growing regions and people, because you might just find a real gold nugget in there about and a good tip that will help you no matter where you are for a start. And also it could just help you with your own climate, some of those tips. So that's it's a fascinating thing to have you guys going into winter and us going into summer. That's it's really interesting.
Yeah. Again, too, I thought, as I was thinking about, like, what should we really talk about today? That just what really stood out to me the most is that we are in such a contrast of seasons right now. Not just time, but seasons. And again, too, like you're saying as well, too, about you being able to, have an audience that's worldwide, and you get a lot of questions and a lot of information from people from all over the place, as well as being able to give them through your videos and all of that. So again, too, like I was saying, we here in the States, we're heading into fall, Nate, right? And things are really changing for us. We're starting to maybe thinking about what we're going to be doing for next year based on what's going, what happened this year, as we're kind of closing out some things. We're thinking also, for those of us who are still trying to grow as far into our winter season as we possibly can, depending on region. Tell us a little bit about what's kind of going on and growing on for you over there. I believe that you're.
Yeah, definitely. First things first, I just want to give respect where it's due. And I got to say, it's a big honor to be here with you, Mark, sharing the same space, because you're one of the originals in the game. And, you've inspired lots of people, untold amounts of people. You've inspired them. And I get a lot of comments about you. I mean, everyone on my channel knows your channel. And so it's just a wonderful thing to be here with you.
Thanks, mate. Much appreciated.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, I totally agree. With that.
So the difference in and you kind of alluded to, like, the first thing I sort of wanted to ask from you as well is that we grow in different areas, and so you're going into the summertime right now, and we're going into the winter. Here, you don't grow anything over the winter. I don't know, Mark, have you always lived in Australia? I mean, have you always been in that climate?
No, I have worked and lived down south, so I know what it, but even in the coldest part of Australia, they can still grow kale and cabbage and some of those cold sort of crops. So I mean, not up in the mountains, because it does snow in areas in Australia down south. But just normal land, sea level, and that they can grow. So yeah, we don't have any idea unless you live up in the mountains in some of those colder regions, what it's like to go through one of those really freezing winters where it snows and you really can't grow anything.
Right. Yeah. And that's exactly what we're leading into right now is how there's nothing that is going to grow over the wintertime here. Even that cold hardy stuff, it lasts for a while, but then once the days no longer get above freezing, then everything just pretty much is done for the winter. And so we have like a 5-month period where nothing grows. So you have to really get it all in there, like during that growing time. You have to really, plan out the season, start early, and boom, grow as much stuff as you can. And especially like the storage crops is very important. So right now, like we're just harvesting up the last run of potatoes, and we got the winter squash, we got the sweet potatoes curing, which I know you're a fan of sweet potatoes. So we got the storage crops, and we're ready for microgreens, and we're indoors. Yeah, we do what we can indoors, and we're preparing for next year.
Yeah.
So sweet potato, that's pretty cool. What are the tubers like? I mean, you've got like 5 months to grow it, I suppose. Then.
Yes, we have 5 months to grow it, and it's the tubers are actually quite nice. They're not the monstrous ones like I see you grow, and they kind of grow like a weed in your area, a little bit. And but no, they're plenty decent tubers. So you just have to start really early and get them in as soon as that last frost date goes, and wait until literally the frost kills the vines off. And then you harvest them, and yes, we get a pretty good run of sweet potatoes. They last all winter.
And then the slips, then how do you regrow them next season?
For us here, I will take the slips and then plant, put them into, or I'll take the tuber and then put it into the soil in about February, so that they're nice and grown up by the middle of May.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool as.
Do you harvest your sweet potato leaves?
I do. I saute them. Yeah, I like to saute them. Do you, Mark?
Occasionally, but we don't usually. It's usually the tubers that we eat.
Yeah, that was the one thing I learned later on after already growing them a few different times about the leaves being edible as well too. So I have to still yet to try.
Yeah, they're a versatile plant. I mean, it's something that grows like a weed here, and I did this garlic video. That was my last video. And garlic is really difficult for us to grow. And some people here in our region, they send me emails and look at these, decent bulbs, and some are really good. And they get good at it, which I like. That's why I was saying, Nate, like you're growing sweet potato in a climate that you really shouldn't be, but you're getting a lot of success with it. And that's the tenacity of the food gardener. I reckon. And here I'm trying to master garlic. It's not necessarily that it's not the growing season that gets us, and it's not even the heat. It's more the humidity that attacks the leaves there are all sorts of diseases hit those leaves and stunt the growth of the plants. So that's the biggest trouble that I have. But it's interesting. You'll get comments saying garlic pretty much grows easily for us in the States and in some cooler regions and in the UK. And I'm just thinking, I'm so jealous. I love garlic. I just wish it would grow really easy for me.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I can't get enough of growing garlic. Just one of those things that one of my favorite things to grow because of how simple it is to do for us anyways, where I'm at. I just pop that stuff in the ground where I live, and it's just right time of year, and then months later it does its whole thing. I never really have to worry much about it at all, and by summertime it's just so I hate to make you jealous there, but it is one of my favorite things to grow.
Do you vernalize your garlic? Do you put it in the freezer for a while? Because that can give a lot better result in a hot climate.
Yeah, I haven't tried that. I haven't tried it.
That'd be a fun experiment.
This next season I'll put it in the fridge because I'm going to have to store it anyway in the fridge. I've been typically well, we just keep running out of it. So I've never really tried growing it season after season and selecting the larger bulbs and trying to acclimatize the garlic. It's just, I've got so many experiments running. It's just something I've never got around to doing. And I really want to. But our garlic, it's the hot heat and humidity. It's difficult to keep it. So I think I'll put it in a container or a bag and store some of the bigger bulbs or cloves for planting in the next season. And see, we can't leave ours on the ground, and you can't plant it early because it'll just rot. Sometimes you'll miss some, and the odd one will come up and survive, and you'll think, how did that happen? It's like potatoes, But most of the time, you just can't plant it and leave them sit there all summer to come up in our winter.
Yeah. Tony from Simplify Gardening is actually in the conversation right now, mentioning the garlic. It needs 30 days of that cold kind of dormancy to kind of allow for those cloves to kind of swell and then kind of split into their individual cloves as it starts to mature. But that cold is what really helps that happen. And so again, I've seen that. I've never really tried that experiment myself, though, too. Is that something that you've tried and done with maybe putting them in a nice fridge or something like that, or even, I don't know if you go as far as freezing them.
Yeah, definitely. I've had a lot of people have great success in tropical places with putting it literally in the freezer for 2-3 weeks, something like that, to trick it out. Because here in northern Indiana, where it can get, negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit, actual temperature, garlic thrives. It does wonderful.
And does it freeze in the ground?
It freezes solid. The ground freezes totally solid. You can't even, you go out there in the middle of winter and a shovel just dink. It's just like concrete. Nothing.
It's so
totally frozen solid.
Amazing what plants can do in those sort of conditions too, because I was always wary of that as a new gardener myself about what I could have. And I had gotten these broccoli starts that I put into these 5-gallon containers I use, and we got a late freeze, one I wasn't expecting, and man, it froze those things solid. And I thought, oh no, for sure these things are dead. But no, man, they were just fine. They just loved it. It was no big deal, and it was solid frozen. So it's something that some of those cold weather plants can really tolerate.
Something that I grow that would probably be surprising to you, Mark, here in northern Indiana, zone 5, ginger. I've just started growing ginger and getting good harvests of ginger, but it's the very first thing that I start inside in the microgreen tent. And I start that real early, but we just harvested. We got some nice succulent baby ginger, so I'm sure you'll find that interesting.
Well, ginger is another thing that grows really easily here, and you can miss the start of the season and still grow something decent as well. Where you can't miss the garlic. If you miss the garlic, you get, by the time summer hits, it just fries it. So you won't get a proper bulb. You'll just get these, immature bulbs, and then the plants just die. But ginger is pretty more forgiving. Yeah. I just noticed that Tony from Simplify Gardening. Yeah, I wanted to catch up with Tony. I was in the UK recently, and I tried to meet with him, but we just ran out of time. It was such a whirlwind tour. But unfortunately, I didn't get. I caught up with Liz Zoram and went and saw her garden over there.
I was seeing some of that video. That's cool.
Yeah, I didn't get hold of Tony, or I was going to see if I could catch up with Hugh as well. Over there, I think his channel was called Hugh's Nursery, but it didn't end up. But Tony, maybe next time, mate. And I saw you used to live in Queensland. I didn't know that either. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What were you doing over there, Mark? You said a tour. Were you doing seminars or something?
No. I we're just on holiday. But we was a little bit of a working holiday where we caught up with some other YouTubers, and I did a bit of filming as well. This is the thing about, and it sort of fits into this conversation well. It's what I love doing is touring around and getting out of my comfort zone and learning about how other people garden and looking at other gardens just away from what I've got. It gives me inspiration for a start, like growing things like, Nate, in your climate where the ground freezes. I've never even experienced that. I've been in the snow once in Mount Buller down in Victoria, and like that would probably be like a warm day compared to your winter, you know. But once, and I saw actually no, I saw a little bit of snow a second time. I visited South Africa and we went up in the highlands and there was some in the mountains and I walked on a little bit of snow then, but it's really rare for most Aussies to see snow like that. Unless you go travel. But I love going around and seeing people grow stuff all around the world. It's just fascinating to me.
I spent my high school years up in Alaska, so I spent in some really nice cold winters up there and everything. And my grandmother's, and again too, talk about, you know, cold climate and being so far north like that. My grandmother grew a vegetable garden in her greenhouse, of course, and we always had this fresh rhubarb that she was cooking from and everything every year, you know. So it's even in some of those wild cold climates, we can really get some good growing gardens going.
One of the things I want to do is try to grow a few more crops that you typically can't grow here through summer. I'm going to put some shade cloth over my gourd tunnel, and instead of growing gourds this year, which grow pretty easy through our summer, I'm going to try to grow mini tomatoes and maybe even a few salad crops and see if I can get them to survive. I'm not sure if I doubt that I'll have a lot of success, but you never know. So I just want to give that a go and see if I can get a few cherry tomatoes at least through the hottest period.
So what breaks apart your season is extreme heat. It's so hot that nothing grows.
Well,
or not much.
Well, yeah, the heat-loving plants like it. Like you've got your chilies, your hot peppers, even your sweet peppers. Like a tomato will grow if it's in like part shade, but not typically in the main veggie garden. Usually you'll find a cherry tomato growing underneath a lemon tree or something that has just got a little bit of extra shade. Eggplant, you've got, of course, your sweet potato, you've got your different gourds, corn. There's a lot you can grow through summer. There's not a lot of traditional salad crops you can grow though. And we typically like our traditional salad crops. You like, you know, your spinach and your lettuce, and you definitely couldn't grow a hearting variety of lettuce. But you can substitute with other things like, say, Egyptian spinach and other. There's plenty of other plants like
there's warmer,
but they're not as good. If I'm going to be totally honest.
Well, and again, too, it's that cold temperature, too, that just really also, just really brings out those sugars in a lot of those things and can really make them a lot tastier, too. So if you had that, for me, that's the difference I would have even from, say, Nate's climate, where he's not able really to grow much of anything through his winter time. I can get away with growing a lot of my greens. My greens, I get so much of the lettuces, the spinaches, and all that sort of stuff pretty much through our winter time. You know, again, they kind of slow down just a little bit because of the loss of light, but they'll continue to, it isn't the cold that's really kind of stopping them from growing at all or killing off the plants either, because it just doesn't, if it does freeze, it just doesn't freeze long enough or get cold enough and all of that. So a lot of things will just go right through the winter for me.
With that in mind, Mark, what are some things that because when people like on my channel, who's in zone 5-ish, give or take a few, they say, oh yeah, I like Mark, I like his sense of humor and everything, but he's in a zone that is so radically different from mine, that his information doesn't apply. So what would you say would be like the 5 things that that sort of transcend zones? You know, what would be like 5 tips or 5 principles? Because I always tell the people that, you know, there's still things that you can gain, even though the person is in a different area. There's still it's the information, it's the way that they look at things. There's so much more to it. So
Yeah,
what would you say to that?
well, there's a million things you can learn. Look, there's a lot of things that just cross over. There's fundamentals with every vegetable, with every plant that grows the same in every area. Like, say, you know, pollination of tomatoes, you know, how to protect crops from pests and animals. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that you can, like, there's tips you can learn all the time, and you can apply them. This is what I was saying before, that you can apply to your own garden. There's just so many that you're bound to pick them up, and like, I can't, like, off the top of my head just spill them all out, but you know, if you read the comment section of any of our videos, you'll see people with a wealth of, you know, knowledge and information, and they're willing to, like, I reckon YouTube, the gardening community on YouTube is probably the best in the world.
Best.
They really are. They do give a lot. They take time out of their day to write a lengthy comment often, and they give tips out willy-nilly, you know, like candy at Halloween. And if you're reading through them, like, I'm pretty good at gardening. I've got a good green thumb, if I do say so myself, over like the last 18 years of just getting out there and getting into it constantly. But I'm still learning heaps. So, I mean, if I'm learning heaps, a beginner gardener is got so much information and things to learn from any gardener around the world. So yeah, I would just say don't put up that. If you want to learn what's growing at the right time, yes, sure. Of course, you've got to follow your locals and even know what your local farmer's growing. What is the strength and the best crops in your area to grow? You can get that from what you're supplying, what your region is supplying your country or the world at the moment. And you can then say, well, that's a strong crop. I actually like growing bananas, and my region is a banana region. Well, I might as well grow bananas if I like eating them, and you can capitalize on that particular crop. But then there are other things that might not be a strength for your region. Then you can sort of look elsewhere, anywhere around the world, and then find tips and hints on how best to grow that. And like ginger's a good example. Just by finding out how you grow ginger really well from somewhere that grows it easily, you'll know length of growing time, you'll know that it needs more heat. You'll get all those tips, and then you'll be able to find out that you can maybe extend the growing season a bit, grow it in a bit of a hothouse, or whatever tips you can come up with to apply it to your region.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, the things that I would come out, the things I would add to that is the things that can be applied no matter what the zone is that number one, focus on the life in the soil. And I know that you agree with this. Focus on nourishing the soil, and that applies everywhere. That's number one. Nourish the soil, and the soil will nourish you. And so by focusing on the health of the soil, organic matter, good nutrient capabilities, good drainage, all of those things that come into play, that's across the board. You know, so the setup, your bed setup, the way that things are set up, the way you orient your garden, all of that kind of stuff all applies. So I like to tell that to people.
Yeah. Timing is another big one. To grow at the right time in your region. That applies everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
Otherwise, you don't get timing right, you get sick plants. Sick plants attract insects.
Yeah, even going back to garlic. I mean, for me, I mean, that was as a new gardener, I didn't really look into, didn't read it. I just went right at growing things and literally was starting my garlic cloves just right there with everything else I was doing in the springtime, and it took me, a season or so to learn, wait a minute, because each time I'm trying to pull these out later in the summer and everything, there's nothing growing there. Doesn't look well at all, that sort of thing. And it took me a while to actually start figuring out, wait a minute, these things start in the fall, which is, again, need that cold season and all of this sort of stuff, to have to really learn about that stuff, to know that, again, like you said, timing really matters as well too. But I think, again, as well, as you were saying, Nate, soil, I mean, soil, it's really, really, kind of the base. It's just the base of everything when it comes down to it. And what we're doing and caring for the soil is really what's going to matter if our plants are going to be strong and healthy. And strong and healthy means, not just getting really great crops or results from our plants that we're growing, but also, they're going to be able to stave off pests. They're going to be able to, be healthier plants, and then also maybe more, as well, nutrient dense. There's just so many things that make, soil just one of those great places to get started when you're, learning about gardening and learning how important, that base of soil is.
Yeah, it must be interesting to, like, if your soil gets frozen, how does it freeze? Like the first 3 feet down or something, or is it the topsoil? I mean, where do all the worms and that go?
I know. Yeah. It freezes absolutely solid for several feet down. Now, the past couple of winters, it hasn't done that because it's been really exceptionally warm. But we're due for a real winter, and when that happens, there is nothing that grows. And you can take a shovel, you can take an ice pick, and dink, and it will just bounce off it's like concrete. I mean, it's unbelievable. And so when I hear everybody, well, you can grow those over the winter, and you can overwinter those. We're not overwintering anything here, So when it does snow, it's actually better because the snow will insulate. It almost it keeps it from getting really extraordinarily cold.
Yeah.
But we can't, and that will be up until March when the soil is like that. I mean, up until later March, until the soil can start to be worked. So yeah,
I'll be lucky, and I'll be lucky if mine really only freezes at some point in time, within the first inch layers, those first couple of inches. So again,
yeah, and the worms, they just kind of go down. They just naturally know. Now my hot compost pile will stay hot, over the winter. It can stay hot, but no, the worms, they just kind of go down, until it's warm. So yeah. Yeah, but one thing that we don't have here, I've seen in your videos, you pull up these worms, and these worms are just bouncing all around super fast, and we don't have anything like that here. I mean, our worms are real, just kind of slow and I don't know what kind of worm that is, but I always wondered.
Reckoned that they were a pest worm or something. There was a few comments in my videos with those fast moving worms saying that they're some type of pest, but I can't really find a lot of information on that. And I'm thinking, I mean, a worm's a worm.
That's what I think. Yeah. I have heard that though about someone. I think I learned about it from the comments in one of your videos a long time ago. Where someone was like, "That's a jumping worm," and they're invasive and they're detrimental. I don't see how that can be, but maybe I don't know yet.
Yeah, same here.
Maybe, there's just maybe some varieties that are just a little more active that might be more common to your area there. And again, too, also, it being warm, a lot of worm varieties prefer a warmer climate versus the colder one. And when it gets cold, they do get less active. So, could be that as well. Even, I don't know necessarily, I guess you would still have some warm summers. So maybe it's still based on the cooler climate. I don't know, but that seems like kind of an interesting difference in how those two interact with different parts of the world.
But soil health is definitely something I'm always working on. I mean, because you're pulling so much out of the soil, and that to grow good veggies you have to have really good soil growing environment. So I'm always looking for worms and seeing how things are breaking down. I'm always putting organic matter back into the soil. Recently, I've been testing because I never really thought about the minerals so much, but now I've been thinking that I need to add a few more extra minerals to get those micronutrients and that into the plants. They don't need much of that, but so recently I've been adding a little bit of what's it called, rock dust.
Azomite or rock
dust and that type of thing, just to get those extra minerals in. I did do a bit of testing, and I threw some in a pot where I had this a citrus growing. It was a kumquat, and it was a bit sick. And I threw a handful of this rock dust in it, and within about a month, it glossed up and it was looking really good again. So it definitely can help, and there was no extra fertilizer or nothing like that. So yeah, that's the other supplement I've been adding. But for the last pretty much 10 years, I mean, the first 8 years here on our property, I was learning a lot. But this last sort of decade, I've been really pumping in the organic matter. And if I see a bed that I dig down the 6 or so inches and there's not much activity or hardly any worms, I understand that I need to pump this bed up and get more compost in there, and even throw kitchen scraps in there. I bury all our organic waste, usually just into a garden bed, and just so that can start to generate more activity in there, because I find the most active beds with the most crawly things in them grow the best veggies.
So what would your opinion be, or what is the consensus that you've come to as far as adding the logs into the beds? I know you've made several different types of videos on that. So is that a worthwhile endeavor for people to do?
Yeah, it definitely does work. I mean, it's a medieval type of thing. It wasn't something I invented. So the mound culture or hugelkultur method, it works. It's definitely a good way to grow. All I did was, instead of mounding it up, I just contained the mound in a raised bed. So it's exactly the same principle. And I mean, the only disadvantage is you'll get some sinkage as that slowly decays, but that really does help. If you've got those different layers, you've got the logs and that in the base, and then you've got sticks and leaves, and you've built it up, it definitely helps to sustain those microbes and those worms. And that's where that symbiotic relationship comes in. When you plant your plants, those plants put down those roots, and those worms visit from that subculture, and they come up and they interact with your plants, and they poop and pee, and the plants get all that nutrients, and it softens the soil, and they dig through the soil, they aerate the soil because they need oxygen too. And so this all helps the plants. So it definitely does help burying that organic matter in the base of a raised bed, if you're raised bed gardening, or if you've got furrows and you're just growing in the land. Of course, do it like the medieval did it. Dig a trench, throw a whole heap of logs and stuff and sticks in that, and build your furrow up over the top of that. Simple as.
Yeah, and also encouraging a lot of good fungal activity. That's another thing. A lot of people,
exactly.
We'll have to learn about their soil and everything. Is that how welcome it is to see this fungal activity in our soil as well too, because that really tells you that your soil's kicking.
Mark, so on my channel, we're all about like making our own fertilizers and stuff, but I'm wondering what is your opinion to say to the viewers, like what would be your top 5 most important things to add to the soil? What would be the top 5 things people would want to add?
Top 5. Well, your own compost is probably number 1, because you can grow in compost. How many things grow out of your compost pile if you just leave it? In fact, I was talking about gourds. I've got an Italian gourd that's just popped up in, like, I've got several different composting methods. I've got the tumbler, a couple of them, and I've got the 3-bay method that's falling apart a bit at the moment that I've got to fix up. Then I've got some normal containers, the plastic containers, the black ones. And then I've just got piles. I've got one pile just sitting in the middle of nowhere. And that pile is shrunk down. I put it there about 6 months ago. In fact, my youngest did. I told him to gather all the fallen stuff and leaves and crap from around the yard and just throw it in a big pile. And it's condensed down quite a lot. And out of that is popping this gourd. And I really don't want to move it now because the plant's looking so good.
So healthy, yeah.
I've got this dilemma. How do I turn this pile? And I don't want to kill this gourd plant now. Right. So I might have to build a trellis up over this compost pile. So I think compost is definitely a big one. Then you've got, it's kind of like composting, but it's not, but it's burying things in your garden. I know in some places you can't, because I get these comments. If I buried fish in my garden, like these people living, in America and Canada, and if I buried fish there, I'd have a polar bear come in and tear up my garden and kill my dogs and stuff. So I don't want to attract bears to my garden. But thankfully, the only bear we've got here is koalas, and they're pretty friendly. So.
Right on.
And they don't eat meat, so that's good. They only eat gum leaves, so we're fairly safe to bury a lot of food and meat even into our garden beds. So I think that's another good thing to add, as far as supplements go. Mulching is another good thing that helps. Yeah. Because it just goes into the soil. I'll put down 6 inches of sugarcane mulch or cut grass without seed or anything like that, or even finely chopped up wood chip. I mean, all wood chip eventually breaks down, but the finer stuff breaks down quicker. It just disappears into the garden bed over about 6 months, to a year. There's nothing left. So it just dissolves in there. So that adds value to the soil. I know it takes a bit of nitrogen out as it breaks down, but then once it's fully broken down, that all goes back into the soil. So that's fine. And if you feel like your plants are lacking a bit of nitrogen or fertilizer, you just add a bit of extra fertilizer to it. So that's another thing that I add, of course, is fertilizer. I like organic fertilizers. And then, like I said, I will do some rock minerals now, because I understand that if you've got a garden bed full of organic matter, which is great, you could be missing out. The plants need rock minerals. They don't need a lot of it, but it's like us. We all need all these little vitamins and minerals. And if you don't have that, you might not be able to break down something else that you need. All these chemicals and these nutrients and minerals work in our body, and the salts to keep ourselves going. It's the same with plants. They all interact, and one needs something else to be able to digest that and whatever. So
really just kind of doing the best to just kind of create the most natural kind of cycle of things. Versus...
I think that's 4, Nate. That's 4 things, but
that's good.
4 main things.
Right.
Yeah, my big thing this last year, which worked so well, just as I thought it would, but it took me a while to kind of catch on as well, because I have kind of a compost pile. I have a compost container. We're doing some urban gardening, small space stuff, and so I always kind of had this outdoor alleyway one that had a bunch of worms that always just loved getting up in through there, and similar like you're saying about plants always growing out of it every year. But that was kind of my composting thing that I would use to kind of add to my soil, which I still do, But for feeding my soil, the thing I found works, and it worked just so well. It was simple. It just didn't really cost anything, which is one of the things I love to find when it comes to gardening, is things that aren't so costly, is growing my own worms. So I started worm farming this last year, and so I can have my own vermicompost. And then what I would do is I just make my own little vermicompost teas, just straight worm teas to feed everything. And man, I'm telling you, that just really kicked things up a good notch as well too. So if I could add anything to your list, I would say get into doing some worm farming and grow your own natural fertilizers, as well as, again, too, some of the other things you do, Nate. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about some of those things that you would put into and you work on there through your channel and your videos, because you got a lot of those great knowledge and some of those things that you can do really naturally to help your soil just get that extra boost.
Yeah, it's what Mark said. Compost, number one, of course, the compost that you're making yourself. Now there can also be the compost that the cow makes for you or the horse makes for you. That is really good.
Yeah.
So the manure, especially in these areas where there's lots of cattle or horses, if you can now, and I don't know if this is a problem where you're at, Mark, but here we have broadleaf herbicide usage is really rampant now, more than ever before. And so the manures of the cow, and especially equestrian, especially horses, is contaminated with this broadleaf herbicide that just wreaks havoc in the garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have that there as well? Do you have the
Yeah, and I
experience?
know why. I had to look into it. I mean, it caught me off guard. I got some manure from a different place that I usually do. I put it in the garden, and all these leaves started curling on my tomatoes. I thought it might have had some tobacco virus or something. I couldn't. I didn't. And then I realized that it was actually dying from like a glyphosate, and I did some research on it, and yeah, it apparently is quite readily used in crops that horses and cows and cattle eat, and so it doesn't hurt them apparently. It just goes straight through their system. It doesn't get into their system; it goes straight through the gut, but it stays in the manure, and that then you're putting manure glyphosate on your bloody plants.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful, to go and get it from a dairy or somewhere that they're organic or they don't use herbicides. And I think word's got around, and people are getting a lot more careful with that. That's for sure. But Nate, do you make, like I've had a go at making fish fertilizer. I haven't tried it yet. But just out of our waste fish, fish heads and that, blend them up, and I actually added some of our own sugarcane juice to get it moving and those types of things. It's in this big beer vat that you'd ferment beer in, and I've left it ferment in the shed for about 12 months, and it looks pretty cool, but I've never tried it yet. I've got no idea. So what do you do with the making your own fertilizers?
Well, there's all different kinds of things you can do depending on what you have, but it sounds like you have fish readily available. And so for you, what I would try and do is to make, honestly, the finest fish fertilizer is called fish amino acids. And it's very simple. It's basically equal parts by weight of brown sugar and fish scraps. And then we mix those together and we put that's it. No anything else. Just brown sugar and fish scraps, equal parts by weight, a little bit more brown sugar than fish.
No water?
No water, nothing else. It's a dry. You pack it in there, and the osmotic pressure from the sugar is what digests and pulls out the amino acids from the fish. And so, especially in your climate, if you just leave it outside, within 6 months to 8 months, it's going to be totally liquefied. It's incredible. And that is some of the finest fertilizer. You only have to use it just at an ounce a gallon, or even just a tablespoon a gallon. That's one of the best that there is.
I didn't know it was that easy. I've like concoctionized mine. I was like a mad scientist in the shed. A bit of water, and like I said, I got this fermented sugarcane juice. It was by mistake, really, because I juiced our sugarcane, and it fermented really quickly, and so it went into this like gluey, yucky substance. And I thought, what am I going to do with this? I actually tried to drink some, and it was It was like snot.
Wow.
Fair income nearly made me puke.
Oh my gosh.
It tasted good, but the texture, it was awful. It was like swallowing a slug. And so I thought, what am I going to do with this? And I went, oh, that's right. I've just mixed up all this fish sludge with water. And what else did I add to it? I don't think I added anything else.
Wow.
So,
But I threw this sugar in and it really activated it. And it bubbled away. And so it's all calmed down now. So I think it's time to try it.
Yeah, definitely you can try that. I mean, there's so many different ways to make your own fertilizers. One of the best things that you could have added to that would be what is called leaf mold soil. Once the leaves go in, it's part of the system. You go to the biggest, oldest trees in the area, and you uncover the sort of ground debris, and then you get some of that black earth underneath that's got all the diversity of local microorganisms. And so we would typically add a shovel load of that to that brew that you're talking about, to inoculate it with all the diverse kind of microorganisms. And so, there's many different kinds of brews. There's aerobic brews where you put the compost tea. I'm really big into the compost tea. The aerated compost tea, where we just utilize the compost and we culture it with water and a little bit of molasses, but then we use some of that fish fertilizer. And we spray that onto things, and that's just really about all that the plants need. Especially if you got a good base fertilizer in the actual soil, like manure or blood and bone meal or something like that.
When you do the brown sugar, so does it stink much?
That's the most beautiful part about the fish amino acids. See, there's another kind of fish fertilizer where it's the JDOM system, where it's just leaf mold and fish and water, and you just let it digest. And it works good, but it smells putrid, rancid death.
Oh, that's close to what you've got. Yeah.
Right. And there's putrid stench, right?
Yeah, death.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. To where you put it on the plants, and your neighbors are like, "What is going on over there?" Calling the cops. And so got some kind of body over there.
I haven't myself gotten that experimental with things. I've tried some of the fish fertilizer you can get, and it's just amazing even how bad that is. I can't imagine what you're talking about there, because I get every fly from probably a mile away. It comes right to they're just everywhere. But I do agree about the compost teas though too. That is for me about the way it goes for real quality way of feeding your garden.
The fish amino acids, Mark, with the brown sugar does not smell at all. That's the beautiful part of it. I literally have buckets fermenting in my basement, and there's a zero smell whatsoever. And that's why I made a brief video on it. So if you ever wanted to see it visually done,
that one. I'll be watching it.
Yeah. So just check it out. Just fish amino acids on my channel, and it shows you exactly how to do it. Super simple, but you can make it in 5-gallon buckets, and it's a really concentrated one. So I think you'll like that a lot. And if you get it on your hands, it doesn't smell. That fish fertilizer you made, if you get it on your hands, forget about it. Right? It's going to smell all day. Yeah,
that's going to be interesting. But and so I wondered how the commercial fish emulsion, how that was so nice. It's almost like easy to sniff. It's like a normal ferment. It's quite nice and dark. So it must be the molasses or that brown sugar that darkens that mix up then.
Well, the stuff commercially, they do completely different, because they enzymatically digest it with special enzymes that they add. So it's not the same way. So there's fish emulsion, where they just liquefy the fish, and heat it up, and they remove all the good stuff from it, and then what's left is the sludge. And then there's fish hydrolysate, which is a higher quality, more expensive.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes. They take the whole fish, blend it up, and then enzymatically digest it. And so that enzyme is specially formulated to control the smell and to do certain things.
So they don't add sugar to it?
Probably not.
So
I can't say exactly, but
naturally has that dark, almost like seaweed type liquid looking.
Yes. Yep. At the end, definitely. And if you make some of the fish fertilizers, then the final product does tend to look like that. Yeah, but the fish amino acids just smells a little bit like tomato juice. That's it. It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
I'll be doing that. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And you can do it in a 55-gallon drum. Just get you a couple big bags of the brown sugar and just
Yeah,
let it ferment. Yeah. Yeah, it'll happen real fast in your environment.
equal parts.
Yep, yep. Equal parts by weight, and then just a final cap, a little bit,
Yeah,
maybe an extra 5 to 10% of the
yeah.
brown sugar. And
Okay.
oh yeah, yeah, it'll be great.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I've seen some of them big fish that you bury, some of them big fish heads and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Well, we hope to catch even bigger ones.
Oh yeah. Oh, you catch all
Yeah.
those.
Yeah,
Those are. Oh, nice.
Oh yeah,
Fisherman.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah. We I love going fishing, and
yeah. You got to
you'll
check
see-
out Mark's other channel, Self-Sufficing Me.
Mm.
Really?
Yeah, my eldest son runs our fishing channel. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I haven't checked that out.
Self-Sufficient Me. Yeah, but you'll come back and you'll get to the boat ramp and you'll see all these fish frames, some of them just chucked or littered into the water. I know it eventually gets cleaned up, but it's a bit smelly and yucky, especially in where the boat ramp is. Otherwise, they just throw it into the bins, and it's such a waste of good, valuable meat. So we never do that. We always fillet our fish at home, and anything we don't use. I mean, people will say, you can boil up the heads, you can make fish stock, and all that. Yes, that's all good too. But generally, we just like to use the fish in the garden. It's such a valuable food source for the plants.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a lot of people that are like, you could eat that. You should be eating that. And I'm saying, we are eating it just through a different pathway, through the soil. So we are
Try
eating it.
Life in the Garden's asking here about. He says he has access to tons of fish cleaning waste here on the coast in Destin, Florida. Will any type of fish work?
Yes, absolutely. Any type of fish will work. I'm about to go to the river here before long, if we ever get to it, and fish for some carp, the invasive carp with spears. We can
there you
spear them
go.
here and just get big old, bunch of them.
Are you doing a video on that?
I will be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That'll
When we
be
do it,
cool.
I will be for sure. Yep. Carp spearing.
I'll be watching that, and then you're going to make fertilizer out of it.
Yep. And then I'm going to make fertilizer out of it. Yep. And the one that I'll do is going to be the FAA, the fish amino acids, just because there's no smell. I mean, it's just the most beautiful part. So yeah. Yep, I'll be doing that. And that's my favorite. I don't know. I don't remember on your channel if you get into foliar feeding a lot. I mean, if you apply, but I like to make brews like the compost tea, and then I'll apply it by pump onto a garden hose. I'll mix it in a big trough and apply it, like that. Spray, rain down on the plants like that. That's how I like to apply things.
Yeah.
Just douse it all. That's the best.
I haven't done a lot of foliar feeding or anything like that. The most like we got chickens, and so I've got a chicken ring outside the chicken pen, and so they have access to that, and they've learnt to go to that all the time. And this ring has got about a foot high of well, it's a ring, and in that we throw the kitchen scraps, and we also throw the bedding and the extra manure we scrape up from the perching into that as well. And so they keep stirring that up. And if a chicken drops off the perch, well, we'll bury her in there as well, pretty deep. So but that keeps getting stirred around, and it's full of worms and chicken poop. And so that is another type of fertilizer that I use, which is just homemade and pretty easy to make.
Real nice.
Yeah, keeping everything all natural, keeping that cycle too, utilizing everything, making sure I do true, even though I'm living in the city, I try to do as much of that as possible. I try to keep and save almost everything as far as scraps and plant waste, tree waste, all that sort of stuff, our leaves for all of our mulching and all of that. But while I got you guys on for here just a little bit too, maybe I'll kind of ask you just a little bit too, maybe just to, because one of the questions I was really thinking about before we were getting started today was, You guys got these really great channels. You've got such a great following. We can see, especially you, Nate, there, who's got this just great Viking tribe who just shows up and is so supportive and everything, you know, and you as well, Mark. So I wanted to ask you both too, you know, what is it that you guys enjoy the most about what you're doing with your channels? You know, I will start with you, Nate, for sure.
Okay. For me, it's definitely the connection to the people, because I learned so many skills through traveling for those 10 years where I was going to Asia and India and spent a lot of time in India and lived in Thailand and Vietnam and things. And seeing these old ways that they were doing stuff, people were teaching me things. And then I was growing in Northern California. That's where I really got developed my passion for growing. And so people all along the way were teaching me things that they had learned, you know, and this is like pre-internet, you know, we weren't looking at videos and stuff like that. People were just showing me things, you know, old school, like in person. And so I just feel really thankful that this outlet exists, that I can connect with people and share those things that those people taught me. It feels like completing the circle. You know, it feels like I'm so grateful that that happened. So it's only the natural thing that I need to then convey it to other people so that they can pass it on to other people. So for me, I'm most thankful for the connection with the people and the ability to spread the knowledge, and it sort of makes right. You know, it's like passing it on. So that's my favorite part for sure.
Exactly.
What about you, Mark?
I'm the same. It's the sharing of information that's really drew me in from the beginning, because when I first started my channel in 2011, I was learning, and I still am. We're always learning as gardeners. So I just got feedback right from the beginning, and that I caught the bug straight away. And then this, you know, my own community became this kind of sounding board, and they were learning from me. I was learning from them. We were working things out together. And then, you know, it even turned into a bit of a psychological support network for me. I mean, I was a home dad at the time, so I wasn't doing YouTube for money. I didn't get a cracker out of YouTube for the first 5 years. I was just doing it because it was good for me. Like I even shared some, you know, darker moments and harder times, and then I'd get pepped up. I'd read the comments, and people were so supportive. Like I said, people are really valuable with their time, and it was, for me, it was the American audience that I'll never forget sort of warmed to me first. Like my the USA, they really grabbed on to me. I don't know if it was the Australian thing or my accent or something, but
personality
for sure.
It was so that's particularly I'm particularly fond of Americans because of the way they helped me in those early days. And so the sharing of information is a big thing, but I've got to be honest and say, now that I've built, well, all you guys have helped me build this business out of YouTube. I feel very fortunate, like you said, Nate, really fortunate that I'm able to do this for a living and provide for my family now, because there was going to be a time where I would have had to get back into the workforce and get a real job, like, you know, security guard or and all those things are good.
Right.
But at 50 or so, getting back into the workforce would have been hard for me. I've got injuries. It would have been hard to get employed. I've been out of the game for a long time. So to be able to have this own business developed out of doing what I love online and sharing information on YouTube is bloody a dream come true. So I'll be forever thankful and grateful of this opportunity. And it's sort of all just bloomed out of just the love of sharing information to begin with.
And I'll tell you too, as Tony in Simplified Gardening was talking about as well, I've been following you since way before any of this stuff, you know. Again, so you're talking about, I was one of that American audience who originally found you those many years ago as I was getting started on my gardening journey. And as Nate mentioned there too, personality being a huge part of that, because it's such a welcoming I guess, here in America too, we do like a good Australian, and their welcoming personalities that they have. And it was those early videos. I remember, I don't know, I must have been looking up citrus trees or something, because I remember that was one of those early things I thought I would test my climate on. But, and I found you, and I remember that process you were talking about that you were going through and stuff too. And so I just also want to kind of just throw in the fact that even you sharing that kind of process in your development and creating this kind of second life for yourself in a way, was hugely inspiring on that level as well too. It's something I think about too. I've only got, you know what I mean? I've got a good audience. I've got a good thing going on and all of that sort of stuff. But, I think about when there's times I'm struggling with what I'm getting out of it or all that sort of stuff. I think back to that time when you were dealing with all of that and you were going through it. And it's so inspiring to see how you stuck with this dream and you kept it going. And you've really come out to be one of the, again, one of the top gardeners on YouTube out there. And it was just really kind of, one thing to be able to see you go from that to that. And it's just been really, really inspiring.
Yeah, definitely. To me right now, even this is very inspiring because I'm nowhere near to that place yet, but I see that on the horizon, and so the fact you've shared, all along the way, and I remember the videos you're talking about way back in the day, real simple ones, not really edited much. You're just kind of standing there talking about you're exhausted and stuff like that. People love that. People love the realness because they can relate. They're like, you know what?
Yeah,
I feel the same way, man. Because so much of the YouTube thing is just all the highlight reel of people's lives.
Yeah, the Insta stuff.
Yes.
All the best bits.
Right. And so people are like, yeah, okay, that's great. Everyone else has got such better lives than I do.
Yeah.
But they're just happy all the time. But then when they see people being like, no, this is actually not what it looks like. I'm struggling, or this didn't work out, or something I still love about your videos is that you're not afraid to show all the failures of the potatoes and all that kind of stuff. Like, look at this tiny little pile, of potatoes, and just it's very relatable. So I think people appreciate that. I know I do.
And even as, again, too, as we started this conversation with too, is in such different climates and all of that as well, too, we can find something from each other to inspire us within our own gardens, even if we are dealing with different time, different issues and different things because of those differences. Sometimes it is, as Tony was saying there too, authenticity is key. I mean, if we're being really authentic, and that's one of the things that YouTube is really great for. It's what it's allowed. It's one of my favorite things that I've found in my gardening adventure was this just vast, great gardening community, not just of creators and people who are putting themselves out there and sharing, but as well to people who love watching this stuff, like all of our viewers who are here and just been having a real great time in the discussion there in the chat while we're having this fun discussion. So again, there's just so much that, these sort of gatherings and see these sort of things are great for, is to kind of continue that inspiration that you two do so well. And again, I'll mention as well, Nate, big time inspiration to me as well, being, so supportive and everything as you've been as well, but finding your channel and seeing how you just pump people up again, like, like we can see in the chat, the tribe shows up. They're very supportive because that's what you do, is you bring a good type of gardening leadership to our community. And I think that's just really awesome what you do.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, you look the piece too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Garden like a Viking. That's right. Yeah. Yes. So and that is the best part, the tribe. I mean, the tribe of people, definitely. I mean, I know these people. I mean, I know them on one level, very closely, and so it's great to be able to bounce information off them. And the more that the tribe grows, the more knowledge base we have, to draw from. Like you were talking about, Mark, you like reading through the comments and seeing people's input and experience. That's really valuable to me as well, because I can ask them, because there's plenty of things I don't know. So I can say during the lives, so what about this? Do you guys know about this? And for sure somebody does.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I'll meet people out too, obviously mainly Aussies around here, and they're the most genuine and lovely people out there. Sometimes as a creator you can get sucked into that vortex of trolling, and because negativity catches the eye,
Yeah.
And so you'll read through 100 fantastic comments, and you'll have one that says, "You look fat in that," and you'll feel a bit offended. And
and that's the one that sticks in your head. That's the one that's going around in your head. Why? How can he say that?
Yeah.
And you start to think, oh, everyone's an arsehole, but I go out, and it's mainly like I'll get recognized at garden centers, nurseries, and places like that. And because, they're there for a common theme. So that's it. I wouldn't get recognized typically at, say, a concert or something like that, with a bunch of young people in there. They're there occasionally, but I can't think of one time, and I've been approached by hundreds of people, and I'll ask them what they're growing. That's usually my first question, and then they'll let me know what they're growing and that. But there's not one time I haven't had one person come up to me and troll me to my face. They've just been genuinely lovely. So if you're out there, you see me, come and say hello. I enjoy it. I enjoy the chat, because then it's like the comment section. You just learn from everything, all these little experiences.
Yeah, really too. And that's one thing, man, we got to find a way to get you over here to the States sometime too, and we'll all be able to have a big huge meetup or anything. We'll have to have a get together.
I want to do a tour. I want to do like a dedicated States tour, and just go to a venue like a bar and have a few drinks and just meet up with people and just chat.
You would have you could probably come up with a really cool, fun tour here in the States, and I'm sure tons of people would love to see you and get to do a meetup. I know I would definitely make sure that I was there for sure. So again, we'll have to think about that. But definitely. You were talking about concert there, which is kind of reminding me about all these other things and stuff I've got going on today and all of that. And so again too, I just want to thank you guys so much for coming here and spending your time today and hanging out with me here and having this really fun conversation. As I can see through the comments here we've had all day today, just so many people and really enjoying the conversation. So we'll have to get back together and do this again real soon, and spend some more time and really dig into some of these other aspects of gardening that are just make it so interesting and fun. Again, we get this great community out of it all, but what better way to be spending your time than in the garden, enjoying an afternoon with all of your plants and all of this sort of stuff, so again, we'll have to get together and, like I said, dig into it just a bit more. And so real quick here before we do go or anything, I'll give you guys each a chance to let me know or let everybody know what you got coming up here, or maybe for your channels and all of that. And I will say to everybody too, there are links down below just in case there's anybody who's joining in from either one of our channels and all, to make sure you go down below and click those links and go subscribe to their channels. And as I always tell people, go and leave a comment on one of their recent videos there and let them know that you saw them here on the Let's Get Growing show.
I'll just start.
Absolutely.
Here at this place, I'm doing a total garden renovation. Where I'm ripping out the entire garden. I'm actually going to till the whole thing for the first time. Going to till it up and make it into beds, and then put drip irrigation, because things have changed so much here that it is dry all summer. We had 10 weeks without a drop of rain, and here we usually rely on the rain completely. And so when that goes away, it just, things suffered this whole year, suffered real bad. So I'm going to create one that is on drip lines next year. And so I'm going to be doing tons of video series about that. And then, of course, the long-term projection is to get some land and to make the school so that people can come in person and learn these skills and that kind of thing. So that's the end goal. That's what we got going on here.
Yeah, nothing like a good, fun transformation too, when you got the opportunity to do it.
No, I'm doing the same, man. Like I'm going, the transformation we want to do is knock our orchard down by at least 2/3. we've got lots of subtropical and tropical fruits like mangoes and even pecans. They get too big for the home gardener like myself, and they get too hard to manage. You can't net them. You can't organically grow with them. You can net maybe at the base, but it still attracts all the birds, the cockatoos, the bats, and everything. So it's not practical. And if you really want to be practical as a home gardener with an orchard, we have to knock it down to a more manageable level. So that's going to take a bit because I've let it go for too long.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, it can't do it all in one go, but that's a project I want to get done at the end of this summer. But I'll be preparing and knocking down a few, pruning a bit before that. And I also want to put out a bit more content than I have been usually, because I was away and there's been a lot of things that I've been doing. We've been revamping our website. We're getting a merch store up and running. So behind the scenes, I've been doing a lot of work along with my two boys who are now working for me. And we've been together at the expense of content, planning and doing a lot of things behind the scenes. And it pains me because I like putting out videos. That's my favorite thing to do. And so I really want to get back into that over this Christmas period.
Same here.
Mark, I'm curious, Mark, do you have do you like plan your videos out, the topics, or do you just kind of freestyle? Like what calls to you for the moment, you just kind of make it as it comes? Or do you go every week? Do you write them out and say every week I'm going to release a video and it's going to be this, this, this?
I should.
Good question.
I should as a professional.
Right. I know.
That's a great answer. Like,
there are things like I'm doing a banana experiment at the moment where I'm trying to grow bananas in containers. And so that you could maybe show someone who's growing, who might want to grow bananas, but they don't think they've got enough space, maybe grow them in a courtyard. That experiment's taking a long time, but I'm filming it gradually, repotting and all that. That could take 2 years. So that's planned. When that video comes out, it all depends on how that experiment goes. So there's a heap of experiments that I've got on the go that are planned, and then there's a lot of videos that just come out of nowhere and that I just share and that aren't planned. So that's mainly how it is. It's a bit ad hoc, really. When I go to YouTube and meetups and stuff, I get fairly much ribbed by the guys saying that I need to plan better, and that's so true. But I haven't yet.
Right. I feel the same way. I try to keep more free flowing when I'm going and kind of come up with ideas as I go. But I really think I might be more at an advantage if I did a little better planning. But again, I'm the same way. I've got to get in and do more videos too as well.
Yeah, I feel the same way though. I do this year I had on a calendar, I had every video that I was going to make all lined out on the calendar and everything, the topic, and then like 2 weeks into it, that all just fell apart. And I just started doing freestyling. Okay, well, whatever is going to be made, whatever video wants to be made, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, fresh is best, mate.
It is.
That's right. And, again, too, it's worth the wait, too, when it comes to either one of your guys' videos. I mean, you both do really an exceptional job at what you do with your videos. Again, huge inspiration for me. And again, as I can tell throughout our show today, huge inspiration for everyone out there who's watching our show. And I really do appreciate you guys spending your time today. And again, really, actually, beforehand, I'll mention that, again, go check out Nate's videos. He's, again, as we talked about, there's tons of great knowledge on growing and putting together we talked about some of those fish potions or whatever, but great stuff, great information for some great natural growing and gardening and all of that. Check out, watch and follow along with him as he's making these transformations in his garden and everything. It's just again, you'll love being a part of the Viking tribe. It's so much fun. And again, too, he also does live streams just before we do our live stream here as well. So it's always great great for me because I get to watch and listen to Nate each and every week as I'm prepping and getting ready for the show. So if anybody's just got some time, even more before you get to come on to our show here, definitely be sure on Saturdays to check out Nate's live streams there as well. And again, too, Mark, again, tons and tons of great stuff coming from you as well, too. And I love these travel videos you've been doing. And you'll, so I know everybody else will be able to go and check that out. As we were talking about, maybe we got to get you to come over to the States and do some of those as well, too, which would be great. But that trip you just did to Spain and Europe and all of that, the Tomatina, which is just to tell you before we got on the show, I was just so jealous. It's been on my bucket list as well, too, to get out and do that event. That would just be so fun. But again, I encourage everybody to go and check out that video. You don't want to miss that video. So go to the links down below to each of these guys' channels and go and check out some of their content here. And again, you guys, thank you so much for spending your time here with me today.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's been an honor sharing the space with you, Mark. So this is cool.
Yeah,
Thanks, Enoch.
Same with me, Nate. And
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. What we'll do is we'll have to get together real soon and plan something in the future and get back, and maybe we'll do an alternate, we'll flip it around. So we'll maybe get back together when we're in different seasons on the other side around or something and kind of have a conversation from then.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And we could have a list of questions from you guys. So if you have questions that you might want to see in a future one, put them in the comments. Let us know.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody get into that comment section there. And again, we'll see you guys on the show again real soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
You're just awesome. Let's Get Growing is sponsored by IV Organic.
Hi, my name is Charles Malky, biologist and plant expert with IV Organics, where we grow cool plants and author Saving the World with the Home Garden. IV Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard has 7 natural oils that protect your plants, not just from the summer heat as well as winter cold, but also protects your plants from damaging insects and rodents. The oils in the product include castor, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint. These oils are natural insect and rodent repellent oils, which are encapsulated by the base powder, offering your plants months of protection at a time. 1 application per year will suffice for protection against damaging summer sunburn and winter sun scald, but if the target is pests, application as much as 2 to 3 times a year may be necessary.
All right, right on. Let's get that out there. What a great show today for our Sunday edition here on the Let's Get Growing show. I mean, amazing conversation with these amazing gardeners. Again, I hope you all really enjoyed it, as I could tell from our comments today, and everybody who's in watching the show and chatting there too. Lots and lots of great compliments from everybody. So thank you all so much for spending your time here with us on Sunday. Thanks again to Nate joining with us here, and Mark joining us from Monday in the future and all of that. So again, just really great to again, to be able to get together, like I said, through the gardening world and this community. Is just amazing how we can all just have these great conversations, and so grateful that all of you came here to our Let's Get Growing show to check out this just awesome conversation. So again, if you are here at the end of the show, definitely, and if you haven't yet, hit that thumbs up, click the like button, as well as subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the Urban Gardener channel. Again, also get down below and subscribe if you can to Nate's Garden Like a Viking if you're not a part of the Viking tribe already, or also go to Mark Valencia's channel and subscribe to him. I can't believe you're not already, because I think he's got one of great channels. So again, you're going to want to make sure that you're subscribed and follow him down there in Australia as well too. And again, thank you all so much for joining with us here on the show today. It's just been such a really wonderful, awesome conversation. And if you get a chance to come back and join with us again, like I said, we are here every Saturday and every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we've got great guests each and every weekend here on the Let's Get Growing show, whether it's our Saturday show. And this next Saturday, we are going to have on the show Marcus Bridgewater from Garden Marcus. He's got just written some great books, just brings really awesome, great energy to gardening and all of that. I've been looking forward to having him on the show here. So we'll be talking with Marcus Bridgewater from Garden Marcus next Saturday on the show. Again, I'm still working on Sunday's show, so you'll definitely want to tune in. We will have some great guests with us to join us for another fun gardening roundtable. And then as well too, I do want to mention that each every month on our third Sunday of the month, we do have our gardening book club, where we have a new book each and every month that we get to talk with the author about on the third Sunday of the month. I believe that's November 17th, and we're featuring Mitchell McCulloch's The Seed Hunter. So we'll be reading The Seed Hunter. This is a really new book. Really great to have him and join with us again on the 17th for our gardening book club. And just really great things going on here on the channel here. So you don't want to miss out each and every Saturday and Sunday on the Let's Get Growing show. I hope you all really enjoyed this wonderful conversation today. It's been so wonderful to have all of you here. Thank you so much, tribes, from both Self-Sufficient Me and Garden Like a Viking. And again, I'll see all of you this next week.